The most important rule in the galaxy: never mess with humans. In the vast reaches of the galaxy, civilizations rose and fell, each one contributing to the complex web of interstellar diplomacy, trade, and conflict. Among the many species that populated the stars, one rule had been passed down through the ages, whispered from one galactic empire to the next, from one alien species to another. It was a rule so universally acknowledged that no one ever dared to question it. Never mess with humans. At first glance, it seemed simple enough. After all, humans were just one species among many, a young race in the grand timeline of the cosmos. But as the centuries went by, the galaxy began to understand the true meaning of this rule, and why it was so fiercely respected. It all began with the Terran Alliance, a coalition of human planets that had rapidly expanded their reach into the stars. Unlike the sophisticated, ancient races that had long mastered technology and political intrigue, humans were raw, unpredictable, and driven by an insatiable hunger for survival. The first incident occurred when a small alien race, the Xandri, attempted to enslave a human colony on a distant moon. The Xandri had been doing this for centuries, capturing weaker species, bending them to their will, and using them as labor for their vast mining operations. Humans, however, proved to be an entirely different challenge. The Xandri had underestimated them. Humans fought back with an intensity that was unheard of. They weren't just soldiers, they were resourceful engineers, cunning strategists, and ruthless in their pursuit of freedom. What began as a small rebellion turned into a full-scale war. Within a matter of months, the Xandri fleet was decimated, their cities turned to rubble, and their empire brought to its knees. The Xandri were not the first to learn this lesson, nor would they be the last. Over the years, humans expanded their influence across the galaxy, and with each new victory, their reputation grew. It wasn't just their tenacity in battle that set them apart, it was their ability to adapt, to learn, and to evolve in ways that no one could predict. They were relentless in their pursuit of knowledge, and when pushed to the edge, they became a force of nature that even the oldest, most powerful civilizations feared. The next major conflict came when the Vorgoth, a race of hyper-intelligent beings with centuries of technological advancement, decided to test humanity's limits. They initiated a covert operation, using subversive tactics to infiltrate human governments and manipulate their leaders into war with neighboring systems. They believed the humans were nothing more than pawns in a galactic game, a species too young to see through their schemes. But they were wrong. The humans, though suspicious of the growing tensions, uncovered the plot in a matter of weeks, using their uncanny ability to form alliances, decipher alien technology, and wage war on multiple fronts. They not only thwarted the Vorgoth's plans but turned the tables on them. Within a year, the Vorgoth were on the defensive, their once mighty fleets scattered across the galaxy, hiding from human retribution. The Galactic Council, once a neutral body of peacekeepers, convened to discuss the rising influence of humanity. Representatives from dozens of civilizations sat around the massive table, nervously exchanging glances. They all knew the truth, even if they were unwilling to admit it. Humanity's explosive growth, combined with their unpredictable nature and unyielding drive, made them a force to be reckoned with. One of the older species, the Ceterii, who had long been considered the wisest and most diplomatic race in the galaxy, issued a statement that echoed through the council chamber. "We must agree on one thing," said the Ceterii ambassador. "The most important rule in the galaxy is not one of diplomacy, trade, or conquest. It is simple and absolute: never mess with humans." The room fell silent, and then the murmurs began. It was true. The rule wasn't just a matter of politics, it was a survival instinct. The humans had a unique way of turning every situation into an opportunity for growth, innovation, and retaliation. They were, in essence, a force that could not be predicted or controlled. For years, the galaxy adhered to the unspoken rule. Empires rose and fell, but no one dared challenge humanity, and the humans, for their part, kept to their own, exploring, expanding, and securing their place in the stars. But the true power of humanity's resolve came not from their weapons or technology. It came from something far more fundamental: the human spirit. When faced with insurmountable odds, when the galaxy itself seemed set against them, the humans never gave up. They never surrendered. They fought. They bled. They died, and when the dust settled, they always stood back up. And that, as the galaxy had learned time and time again, was why you never messed with humans. Because if you did, you would soon learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't in their ships, their guns, or their technology, it was in their unshakable will to survive, to fight, and to conquer against all odds. The galaxy would never forget the lesson. And so, the rule stood, as it always would. Never mess with humans. The most important rule in the galaxy, never mess with humans, continued. It was the year 2325 when an even greater challenge arose. The galaxy had been at relative peace for decades, and many of the older civilizations had begun to question whether humanity's rule truly held any weight. Some, emboldened by time and distance, believed that humans were simply a passing phase, a momentary blip in the long, calm history of the cosmos. But one race, the Silfrax, a powerful and ancient species of energy beings, decided to test this theory. The Silfrax had lived for millennia, traveling through dimensions and altering the fabric of space-time itself. They saw themselves as the true rulers of the universe, believing that every species, no matter how advanced, had its place within the natural order, and, in their eyes, humanity's place was subjugated and controlled. The Silfrax, having observed humanity's rapid rise, were intrigued by the idea of conquering the species. They had mastered control over matter and energy, creating weapons capable of erasing entire star systems. They launched a swift and brutal invasion of human space, using advanced techniques that bent the laws of physics themselves. Their strategy was simple: overwhelm the humans before they even realized what was happening. At first, the invasion seemed unstoppable. The Silfrax's attacks were swift, nearly instantaneous, and devastating. Entire fleets of human ships were decimated before they could even raise their shields. Planets fell, colonies burned, and human forces found themselves fighting a battle unlike any they had ever faced. But this was a mistake, the same mistake every conqueror of humanity had made. The Silfrax didn't understand the human spirit, nor did they understand how deeply entrenched their will to fight was. The first sign of humanity's resolve came from an unexpected source. On the front lines of the war, the human fleet admiral, Eleanor Dray, watched as her forces were decimated by the Silfrax's energy blasts. The odds were insurmountable, the situation grim, but she refused to give in. Send out the signal, she ordered. On Earth, a single command was relayed to every human in the galaxy: we fight, we survive, we prevail. Across every colony, every ship, every military base, humans rallied together. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers set aside their differences, combining their resources to create new weapons, new strategies. Within weeks, the tide of war began to shift. The Silfrax, with all their power, couldn't anticipate what the humans would do next. They underestimated the humans' ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. Human engineers quickly developed a new form of technology, a hybrid between human ingenuity and the captured Silfrax technology. The key was understanding the energy patterns that the Silfrax used, and exploiting the weaknesses hidden within their own power. With this new weapon in hand, humanity launched a counteroffensive that was unlike anything the Silfrax had ever faced. Admiral Dray, leading the charge, made one final move that changed everything. She used the human-made weapon to destroy the Silfrax flagship, creating a chain reaction that ripped through their fleet. The Silfrax, unprepared for this unforeseen turn of events, were forced to retreat in disarray. When the war ended, the Silfrax, humbled and broken, made a single declaration: we surrender. We will leave your galaxy and never return. Humanity had done the impossible again. They had defeated an ancient, godlike species, and once more, the galaxy learned why the most important rule in the cosmos had never changed. The Silfrax, in their arrogance, had failed to grasp the one fundamental truth about humanity: humans do not lose. As the years passed, the Galactic Council convened again, with representatives from hundreds of species. Among them, the Ceterii, once again the voice of wisdom, spoke. We have learned our lesson. The Silfrax have learned theirs, and all of us here know the truth now. If we did not before, humanity is not just another species. It is an unpredictable force of nature, one that we cannot hope to control, and one that we should never dare to challenge. And so, The rule was firmly reinforced. The galaxy had learned the hard way that humanity's strength didn't come from its weapons, its ships, or its technology. Though all were formidable, the true power of humanity lay in its unity, its relentless drive to survive, and its uncanny ability to rise from the ashes, no matter the odds. The rule echoed through the stars, unbroken, eternal. Never mess with humans. And so, the galaxy lived in peace, knowing full well that the most dangerous thing they could ever do was forget the lesson that humanity had taught them. The most important rule in the galaxy, never mess with humans, continued. Decades passed, and the galaxy adjusted to the undeniable truth: humanity was no longer a species to be taken lightly. Their reputation spread far and wide, and the once celebrated notion of peace through power had taken on a new, unsettling meaning. Where once there were whispers of human weakness, now there were only hushed tones of fear and respect. But as with all things in the galaxy, the passage of time often breeds complacency, and complacency, as the universe knew all too well, was dangerous. Enter the Croskery, an ancient, predatory species from the uncharted sectors of the galaxy. The Croskery were relentless conquerors, an entire race built on domination and survival. They had torn through dozens of civilizations, leaving nothing but ash and silence in their wake. But their ambition knew no bounds. They sought to add the humans to their list of conquests, to prove that no species, no matter how resilient or stubborn, could ever stand in their way. The Croskery came in secret, slipping through the shadows of unmonitored space. They had studied human tactics, learned from the previous mistakes of the Xandri, Vorgoth, and Silfrax. They knew that humanity would never fall to brute force alone, so they employed subterfuge, using sabotage and misinformation to weaken human defenses before striking. It began with a subtle campaign of terror. Entire human colonies disappeared overnight, wiped clean from the galaxy's charts without a trace. Survivors were found weeks later, mind-broken and fractured, with memories of nothing but the oppressive silence and cold eyes of their captors. Messages from the colonies ceased, leaving only a lingering sense of dread. The Croskery were calculating and cold, manipulating human fears, spreading panic across the galaxy. They had one goal in mind: to break humanity's spirit, to prove that even they, with all their tenacity and defiance, could be crushed under the weight of an ancient predator. But once again, the Croskery underestimated humanity. Rather than breaking, the humans unified in ways no other species could understand. The attacks sparked a new wave of collective action, uniting not just the military forces but every sector of human society. Scientists, engineers, and civilians worked together, developing new defenses, new weapons, and new strategies faster than any other species could have ever imagined. Human ships, once scattered and individual, became part of an unstoppable collective force, human ingenuity at its finest. Within a month, humanity had tracked the Croskery's movements, uncovering their hidden bases across the galaxy. And then, the humans struck back, not with blind vengeance, but with precision. They used the Croskery's own tactics against them, infiltrating their strongholds, sabotaging their ships, and turning the tide in ways the Croskery had never thought possible. And then, humanity did something no one expected. They took the fight to the heart of the Croskery Empire, launching a daring assault on their homeworld. Admiral Eleanor Drey's daughter, Commander Alina Drey, led the charge. She was the embodiment of humanity's tenacity, a new generation that had grown up in the shadow of the warlords of the past, learning not only from their victories but from their failures. The Croskery were stunned as they watched humanity's newest generation outsmart them, utilizing guerrilla tactics and innovative combat strategies to tear down their defenses. When they reached the Croskery throne world, Commander Drey sent a simple message to the Croskery overlord. "Your reign is over. Surrender now, or face the consequences." The Croskery, stunned by the audacity of humanity's attack, chose the latter. Their once impenetrable stronghold fell within hours. The Croskery, having never experienced true defeat, scrambled in the chaos that followed, and, like every other conqueror before them, they were forced to face the undeniable truth: humans would never surrender. With their empire shattered, the Croskery fleet withdrew, their remaining ships retreating back into the deep unknown corners of space. The message was clear: humanity had once again proven that no predator, no matter how ancient or powerful, could break their spirit. The Galactic Council convened once more. The voices of species from every corner of the galaxy gathered in solemn reflection. The Ceterii, who had spoken so many times in the past, were silent for a long moment before standing. "There is no longer any question," the Ceterii ambassador said, their voice heavy with the weight of truth. "The rule is no longer a matter of survival, it is a matter of respect. The Croskari have learned what we all now know: never mess with humans." And with that, the galaxy fell into an uneasy peace. The old empires maintained their borders, and the humans continued their exploration, expanding ever further, never wavering in their path. The rule, now etched in the fabric of intergalactic law, would remain as it always had: never mess with humans. For in the end, the galaxy learned that humanity's true power was not in their ships or their weapons, but in their unwavering determination, their unity, and their refusal to ever back down, no matter how insurmountable the odds. As long as humans drew breath, that rule would remain unbroken. And so, the stars shone a little more brightly, knowing the humans would always be there to face whatever challenges the universe had to offer, unshaken, unyielding, and unstoppable. The most important rule in the galaxy: never mess with humans, continued. Years passed since the fall of the Croskari, and a new era began to dawn in the galaxy. Humanity's influence continued to grow, but this time, it wasn't just through war and conquest, it was through trade, diplomacy, and culture. The Terran Alliance had become a central force in galactic politics, a symbol of resilience and unity. Humans, having earned their place as a powerful and respected species, had become key players in the advancement of technology, intergalactic cooperation, and the exploration of new frontiers. But as peace settled in the galaxy, so did the arrogance of those who believed that the old rules no longer applied. Among the stars, whispers of a new threat began to emerge. The Vorax were a species of highly advanced telepathic beings, capable of reading minds and manipulating thoughts. They had long remained neutral in galactic affairs, content to observe the universe from afar, knowing that their mental abilities gave them an edge over other species. But with humanity's rise, something changed. The Vorax began to feel uneasy, threatened by the sheer unpredictability and tenacity of the human race. They believed that humanity, with its rapid growth and stubborn refusal to bow before any authority, was an anomaly, something that could not be allowed to thrive unchecked. The Vorax had watched the previous wars from the shadows, studying humanity's victories. They had noted how the Xandri, the Vorgoth, the Silfrax, and the Croskari all had failed to defeat humanity. Despite their superior technology and experience, the Vorax were not foolish. They knew they could not defeat humans through force alone. After all, humanity had already demonstrated that sheer strength wasn't what made them dangerous, so they devised a different plan. Instead of an open war, the Vorax decided to infiltrate humanity's mind. They believed that, if they could break the human spirit from within, they could force humanity to submit without lifting a single weapon. Using their telepathic powers, they began to plant seeds of doubt, fear, and division within human minds. It started subtly. Leaders in human colonies began to act erratically, making strange decisions that sowed discord among their people. Simultaneously, rumors spread of internal betrayals, economic crashes, and mysterious disappearances. Humanity's unity, which had been its greatest strength, was suddenly under attack. At first, the humans didn't understand what was happening. The psychological attacks were insidious, and it seemed as though their once unbreakable unity was beginning to fracture. But soon, the human mind, ever adaptable, began to fight back. A young scientist named Dr. Sarah Linden, a leading expert in neurology and artificial intelligence, was the first to make the connection. She realized that the strange behavior she was witnessing, something she had initially thought was just stress or paranoia, was actually the result of an external force manipulating the minds of humans. With the help of an elite team of military strategists, scientists, and engineers, Sarah devised a countermeasure, a mental shield that could block telepathic influence. The humans, never ones to back down in the face of adversity, set to work developing the technology at an unprecedented pace. Within weeks, the first version of the shield was deployed, allowing humans to shield themselves from the Vorax's psychic influence. But the Vorax weren't easily deterred. Realizing their efforts were being thwarted, they escalated their attacks. Using more aggressive and invasive methods, they began to target the minds of the most powerful human leaders, manipulating them into actions that could destabilize the entire Terran Alliance. Civil unrest spread. Riots erupted on multiple human worlds as the Vorax pushed humanity to the brink. Despite the chaos, humanity's ability to adapt and unite was stronger than ever. As the Vorax pushed, the human resistance pushed harder. A new generation of leaders, younger and more resourceful, rose up, equipped with new technologies and fueled by a singular belief: they would never give in. The turning point came when a bold mission was launched to confront the Vorax at the heart of their psychic network, a vast array of interconnected telepathic conduits scattered across their homeworld. This mission wasn't just about defeating an enemy, it was about sending a message: no matter how insidious the threat, humanity would find a way to overcome it. Commander Alina Dre, now a decorated hero and leader of humanity's elite forces, spearheaded the mission. Along with her team, she infiltrated the Vorax homeworld, bypassing their psychic defenses and breaching their stronghold. They planted a counter-device that amplified human telepathic resistance, neutralizing the Vorax's ability to control minds. In a final, desperate move, the Vorax attempted to unleash their full mental might in a last-ditch effort to subjugate humanity. But once again, the humans showed their true power. Their shielded minds, resistant to manipulation, withstood the Vorax's psychic barrage, and when Commander Dre and her team activated the countermeasure, the Vorax's hold over the galaxy was broken. The Vorax, defeated and humbled, withdrew into seclusion, never again to interfere with humanity's destiny. As the galaxy slowly returned to stability, the leaders of the Terran Alliance gathered once more. The Ceterii ambassador, who had seen countless civilizations rise and fall, stood at the front of the council. The Vorax, the ambassador said, believed that controlling the mind was the key to controlling the universe. They thought that, through manipulation, they could defeat humanity without firing a single shot. They were wrong. The ambassador paused, letting the words sink in. We have learned a simple truth, one that has been written in the stars for eons, and I believe, at last, every species in the galaxy understands this truth now. The council chamber fell silent. The rule remains, the Ceterii said, never mess with humans. And thus, the galaxy knew that this was a truth for the ages: no force, no enemy, no trickery, no power, could ever hope to break humanity. They were the unyielding force of nature, the ultimate survivors of the cosmos, and as long as humanity existed, the rule would remain eternal. Never mess with humans. The most important rule in the galaxy, never mess with humans, continued. As time flowed on, humanity's presence in the galaxy became a symbol of both strength and stability. The Terran Alliance had solidified its role as a central power in galactic politics, a trusted and respected force in a cosmos full of shifting allegiances. Yet, as with all periods of peace, there were those who couldn't resist testing the boundaries, seeking to push back against what they saw as humanity's increasing dominance. It was then that a new, shadowy faction arose from the depths of space, known only as the Eclipsed. They were a coalition of beings from forgotten races, long exiled to the outermost reaches of the galaxy. The Eclipsed were a diverse group, half-destroyed civilizations, refugees from wars long past, and even entire species who had once thrived in isolation, watching humanity's rise from the sidelines with resentment and envy. They believed that humanity's ascension was an aberration, a mistake that needed to be corrected. The Eclipsed harbored a dangerous belief that humanity, while resilient and adaptable, was ultimately fragile in the face of true darkness. Their plan was simple: undermine humanity's very sense of existence. If they couldn't defeat humanity militarily, they would aim to destroy the foundation that held humanity together, their ideals. The Eclipsed began their campaign through subtle sabotage. They infiltrated human trade routes, manipulating the supply chains that kept entire worlds functioning. Entire fleets of ships mysteriously vanished. Entire colonies suffered mysterious resource shortages, leading to civil unrest and confusion. But it wasn't just economic warfare they waged, it was psychological. They began to infiltrate the minds of key leaders in the Terran Alliance, planting ideas of distrust, fear, and division. At first, the disruptions were small. A few military commanders lost their confidence. Political leaders hesitated to act on crucial matters. Soon, the cracks began to show. Humanity's famed unity faltered as whispers of rebellion, of splinter factions, crept into every corner of the human colonies. The eclipsed believed that, once humanity's foundation of cooperation and trust shattered, they would be easy to conquer. But once again, they miscalculated the true nature of humanity. Instead of crumbling, humans began to fight back in ways the eclipsed had never expected. The cracks in their unity were met with even stronger solidarity. The human military, once split by uncertainty, forged a new bond, with leaders from every faction coming together to work toward a single goal, protecting their people. Engineers and scientists, across 1,000 worlds, collaborated in the creation of new technologies that would thwart the eclipsed's interference. It was Admiral Alina Dre, now one of humanity's most trusted leaders, who called upon an ancient principle that had guided humans through their darkest times: adapt and overcome. Her strategy was simple: if the eclipsed thought they could disrupt the human mind, humanity would demonstrate that their minds were not only resilient but capable of far greater things than the eclipsed could ever fathom. She initiated a program to build a collective defense, a massive network of psychic shields combined with artificial intelligence, able to predict and counter any mental infiltration. It would be humanity's mind against theirs, with human ingenuity fueling the response. But it wasn't just the technology that turned the tide. It was the people. Humans, in their spirit of unity and resilience, began to recognize the invisible hand that sought to manipulate them. Communities came together, speaking openly, strengthening the bonds of trust that had been so carefully built over the years. Entire sectors of human society stood in solidarity, refusing to give in to fear. In a bold, final confrontation, Commander Alina Dre led a fleet to the heart of the eclipsed's influence, a massive station suspended in the depths of dark space, surrounded by a labyrinth of psychic traps designed to break even the most hardened of minds. But humanity's collective will, its unbreakable spirit, was its greatest weapon. With a coordinated strike, humanity shattered the psychic barriers, sending a shockwave that disbanded the eclipsed's mind manipulation network. The station was destroyed, its leaders scattered, and the eclipsed's plans unraveled. The remnants of their coalition, realizing they had underestimated the strength of human resolve, retreated into the dark corners of the galaxy. But the message had been sent. The eclipsed learned the hardest lesson of all: never mess with humans. As the Galactic Council convened once again, many species found themselves in awe of what humanity had done. The Ceterii ambassador, who had seen countless conflicts and power shifts throughout the galaxy, stood and addressed the assembly. For eons, we believed that the greatest threats to our existence came from weapons of destruction, from raw power, the Ceterii said, their voice echoing in the vast chamber. But we have learned, through human example, that the greatest threat to peace is not force, it is the attack on the heart and soul of a civilization. The eclipsed believed they could break humanity's will, that they could crush the foundation upon which humanity's unity is built. The Ceterii's voice softened, but they were wrong. The strength of humanity lies not in their fleets, their weapons, or their technology. It lies in something far more powerful: their unyielding determination to stand together and survive. The room was silent, and then, in a unanimous decision, the Galactic Council reaffirmed the rule that had become the cornerstone of interstellar peace. The rule is clear, and it is eternal: never mess with humans. The galaxy had learned its lesson, yet again. Humanity's resilience, its ability to adapt, its unity in the face of adversity, and its unwavering refusal to bow to any force, whether physical or psychological, had ensured that no enemy could ever truly conquer them. And so, the stars glittered a little brighter as the Terran Alliance continued to flourish, knowing that as long as humanity stood together, the galaxy would forever echo with the same rule: never mess with humans. For no matter what the future held, humanity would always rise. The most important rule in the galaxy: never mess with humans, continued. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's rise and fall of enemies over countless centuries, but even as peace settled in once more, humanity's very existence remained a symbol of defiance, an unspoken testament to a truth now universal among the stars: never mess with humans. Yet even the most cautious civilizations know that peace can be fragile, especially when the power of a single species disrupts the balance. For the next chapter in this unfolding story came not from the hands of a foe, but from within humanity itself. A new faction emerged, a group of idealists, intellectuals, and technocrats who were known as the Upholders. While the rest of the galaxy feared humanity's potential for destruction, the Upholders believed that humanity could be the key to solving the galaxy's greatest issues: conflict, inequality, environmental degradation, and the untapped potential of countless species. But they did not think humanity's influence had been used wisely. The Upholders believed that the Terran Alliance had become too militaristic, too driven by expansion, and that the true promise of humanity could only be realized by radically changing its course. The Upholders believed the galaxy could be reshaped into a utopia, led by humans, but one that transcended military power and focused on healing, diplomacy, and universal cooperation. They sought to dismantle the Terran Alliance's military presence, believing that humanity should lead by example, by intellectual and cultural supremacy, rather than through force. Their vision was one where humans, in their growing influence, could push the galaxy toward enlightenment, guided by logic and peace, not the remnants of old conflicts. For many, the Upholders were a breath of fresh air, a movement that seemed to promise unity and progress, focusing on building bonds rather than battles. But for others, the ideals they preached were a dangerous threat to the way humanity had earned its place in the galaxy. At the heart of the disagreement was one central truth: can humanity maintain peace without its strength? Would peace, as the Upholders envisioned, become a utopia or a false illusion, one where other species might come to see humanity's retreat as weakness, and in turn, attempt to test the fragile peace? The tension built over the years, until one fateful day a new faction, the Voral, a species long lost to galactic history, re-emerged from the forgotten fringes of the galaxy. The Voral were an ancient species known for their advanced biological warfare technology. They were said to have vanished long ago after a cataclysmic civil war, but now they had returned. Their goals were unclear at first, but it soon became evident that they sought to rebuild their empire, one that would reign over all others, particularly the humans, whom they regarded as an unpredictable and unworthy species. The Voral believed they were the rightful rulers of the galaxy, their ancient biology enabling them to manipulate gene pools and biological systems at will. They had the technology to take entire populations, reshape their DNA, and turn them into compliant subjects. In their minds, it was the only way to ensure peace across the stars, subjugating species, bending them to their will, and ensuring that galactic order could be achieved through biological control. In a brutal display of power, the Voral unleashed a viral plague, one that targeted specific genetic markers found only in humans and a few select species. Entire human colonies, caught off guard and unprepared for biological warfare of this scale, fell prey to the disease. It spread quickly, rendering human civilians debilitated, leaving many in a state of half-consciousness as their bodies slowly deteriorated. Cities burned, entire sectors collapsed. The message was clear: humanity was weak, they were vulnerable, and the Voral believed they could crush this once proud species and bend it to their will. But once again, the galaxy underestimated humanity. The human response to the Voral threat was swift and decisive, but it wasn't just about military might. For the first time in galactic history, humanity turned inward, pooling the knowledge of every field: biochemistry, genetics, medicine, and military strategy. The brilliant minds of humanity, once scattered and divided, now came together with a singular focus: to stop the plague and fight back. No stone was left unturned, no resource spared. Under the leadership of Dr. Maya Verdon, a renowned biologist and former military strategist, humanity developed a cure. They synthesized a counteragent, a cure that could reverse the genetic manipulation, and not just stop the disease, but strengthen the immune systems of those infected. In an unprecedented feat, humanity turned the Voral's biological weapon against them. But Dr. Verdon didn't stop there. She created a vaccine capable of protecting every human, every colony, and every ally from the Voral's future attacks. The Terran Alliance deployed the cure across human space, and with it came the full might of humanity's military forces. The Voral, who had expected the humans to fall into chaos, instead found themselves facing an entirely different enemy. Humanity did not flinch in the face of biological terror, it adapted. It fought back. The final battle came on the Voral homeworld itself. The human fleet, now bolstered by the newly developed biological defenses, stormed the Voral capital. Taking advantage of their own biotechnological weaknesses, they launched a strike not only against the Voral military but against their biological infrastructure, neutralizing the plague-producing facilities and taking control of the Voral's bioengineering labs. In the end, the Voral, unable to maintain their technological superiority, surrendered to humanity. Their once feared empire collapsed, their influence shattered, and their people, who had lived under the delusion of genetic superiority, found themselves at the mercy of a species they had long believed inferior. The message that echoed across the galaxy was undeniable. It wasn't just about military victory. Humanity had shown, once again, that their true strength lay in their unyielding ability to adapt to any challenge, to turn the tide against even the most insidious of threats. When the Galactic Council convened, the Ceterii ambassador stood, once again, to speak. We have witnessed yet another lesson in the resilience of humanity. When faced with a plague that should have devastated them, humanity did not crumble. They innovated, they resisted, and they fought back. The Voral, like so many before them, thought they could break humanity's spirit through fear, through manipulation, through disease, and once again, they were wrong. The ambassador's voice grew heavy with respect. The rule remains, as it always has, never mess with humans. And as the stars continued to shine in the endless expanse of space, the truth that had endured through countless wars, crises, and battles was reaffirmed once more. For no matter the enemy, no matter the obstacle, humanity would rise, adapt, and prevail. Never mess with humans. The most important rule in the galaxy, never mess with humans, continued. The galaxy was again at peace, but peace, as it always does, was a fragile thing. New challenges were on the horizon, and old rivalries began to reawaken. The Terran Alliance, with its growing influence, had become a beacon of hope for many and a source of anxiety for others. But no matter the circumstances, one thing remained constant: humanity's unbreakable will. Yet this time, the threat was not one born of war or violence, nor from a species seeking dominance. It came in the form of a distant and mysterious force known only as the Voidborn. The Voidborn were an ancient species, older than most civilizations in the galaxy. They existed outside the conventional bounds of space and time, and little was known about them except for their legendary abilities to manipulate the very fabric of reality. The Voidborn were not conquerors, they were not invaders. Instead, they were a force of nature, a species whose very existence was tied to the uncharted corners of the universe. For centuries, the Voidborn had remained hidden, their presence only theorized by the most esoteric scientists. They were thought to be simply a myth, a mystery too vast to understand. That is, until they began to make their move. And this time, they weren't looking to conquer or destroy, they were seeking something far more unsettling: to unravel reality itself. The Voidborn's first attack was subtle. Entire star systems went dark without warning, their stars disappearing, their planets lost to the void. At first, it was thought to be an anomaly, a strange cosmic event. But soon, as more and more systems fell silent, it became clear that something more deliberate was at play. Humanity, in its boundless curiosity and adaptability, began to investigate. What they discovered was nothing short of terrifying. The Voidborn were capable of bending spacetime itself, causing entire sections of the galaxy to slip into the void, where the laws of reality no longer applied. They were erasing pieces of the universe, leaving behind nothing but emptiness. For the first time in centuries, humanity was faced with an adversary it could not simply fight with weapons, tactics, or sheer will. The Voidborn operated on a level far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. The threat was existential, not military. They were not seeking to dominate the galaxy, they were seeking to undo it. But humanity, never one to back down from the impossible, immediately began to devise a solution. It wasn't just about fighting, it was about understanding. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to innovate and adapt, to think beyond the confines of conventional knowledge. And in this case, They needed to understand the very fabric of the universe itself. A consortium of human physicists, engineers, and even philosophers was assembled, led by the brilliant Dr. Celine Juneau, a scientist known for her work on quantum mechanics and multidimensional theory. She and her team theorized that the Voidborn were manipulating an aspect of reality that humanity had only begun to understand, an aspect that existed beyond the normal dimensions of space and time. But how could they fight something that existed beyond normal perception? Through a combination of theoretical physics and newly developed technologies, Dr. Juneau and her team began to craft a device, a reality anchor, that could stabilize the fabric of spacetime in the affected regions of the galaxy. It was an unprecedented undertaking. The human race had, in essence, begun to build a bridge into a higher dimension, one where the Voidborn had their power. The construction of the reality anchor took years, and along the way, humanity faced many failures. The device required immense energy and resources, and every misstep could lead to an even greater catastrophe. But humanity's determination was unwavering. They did not fear failure, because they knew that it was only through perseverance and innovation that they could overcome the impossible. The final test came when the first fully functional reality anchor was ready to be deployed. Dr. Juneau and her team initiated the launch, positioning it at the center of the most heavily affected region of space. As the device activated, it began to emit a wave of energy that stabilized the surrounding space, counteracting the Voidborn's ability to tear at reality. At that moment, the Voidborn revealed themselves. They were not a single species but a collective of ancient, enigmatic beings, their forms shifting and fluctuating in ways that defied comprehension. They confronted humanity directly, speaking in a language that resonated not through sound, but through a deep understanding of thought itself. Their message was clear: you cannot resist the void, you cannot fight the end. But humanity did not waver. Dr. Juneau, standing at the forefront of the effort, issued a simple reply: we are not afraid of the end. We are the beginning of everything. The Voidborn, for all their power, had underestimated humanity's defining trait, its refusal to accept the impossible. Humanity had learned to push against the very fabric of reality, and they would not stop now. As the reality anchor continued to expand its influence, the Voidborn found their hold on the galaxy weakening. The laws of spacetime began to heal, and the regions they had unraveled slowly began to restabilize. In a final act of desperation, the Voidborn attempted to collapse an entire star system into the void, an attempt that would have wiped out millions of human lives. But humanity had anticipated this. The anchor, now fully operational, caught the collapse and reversed the process, restoring the system and expelling the Voidborn from that part of space. For the first time, the Voidborn realized that they could not simply undo what humanity had created. They were a force of nature, yes, but they had underestimated humanity's greatest gift, the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to fight for survival in ways no other species could fathom. In the end, the Voidborn retreated back into the deepest corners of the universe. Their plans thwarted. Humanity, once again, had proven that no matter the nature of the threat, no matter how ancient or unfathomable, they would rise to meet it. As the Galactic Council convened once again, the Ceterii ambassador stood, his voice now filled with a quiet awe. The Voidborn came seeking to unravel reality itself. They came to erase existence as we know it, and yet, humanity stood firm. The ambassador paused, his eyes scanning the room. We have learned that there is no force, no matter how ancient, how unfathomable, that can defeat humanity. Never mess with humans. The room fell silent, and the stars shone a little brighter that day, for all the galaxy knew the rule, and they knew it now more than ever. Never mess with humans. And so, humanity's place in the galaxy remained unchallenged. No matter what the universe threw their way, they would continue to stand strong.